Time is up, yeah.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us here at the African Reform Movement channel, where we discuss everything African reform with an emphasis on Ghana. As ever, I'm your host, Uche, and as ever, we have Dr. Nee with us. If you're joining us for the very first time this morning, thank you for joining us. Drop a line in the chat box so we can know where you are from. And also let us know how you heard about this particular channel, okay? If you're new here, welcome. As I said before, Dr. Nee has a number of social media platforms. You can see them down there below. Make use of those, connect with him on those platforms. But I also like to encourage people to check out his website in particular, sankofaafrica.com, where he has a number of resources and he's gone into a bit more depth of certain things. He writes a number of articles. So have a read of those and start engaging with him along those lines, okay? He's also got a bookstore. It's a book nook, I always mention it. He's written a number of books, Weep Not Africa, Tete Kwashi, The Star to Follow, The Fifth Republic, and a number of other ones. And it's also got some upcoming books as well. So please, stay tuned, focus on his bookstore, and as new ones come rolling in, you'll be able to jump in there and purchase your copy. Okay, so today, the topic is Ecofed, Utopia or African Paradise. You think,
Wow.
are they something? Well,
Yeah.
maybe not. Can you explain to you what he thinks and why he's entitled this particular presentation at? Okay, Dr. Nee, over to you.
Thank you very much, Uche. And guys, believe me, Africa's paradise is coming. Okay. The suffering, the pain, and everything in Africa we is experiencing now is just like labor pain. The labor pain is most intense just before delivery. So I'm telling you, a new Africa will be delivered very soon. And a template for governance across the continent is going to be economic federalism. Now, today we're talking about economic federalism or Ecofed. Is it Utopia or is it Africa's paradise? Okay, first slide, please. Oh, yeah. Okay. Why is Ecofed different? Human centered labor. Okay, all right, beautiful. Now, before we go to this first slide, there's always this debate about Ghana, about the unity state and federalism. So why did I choose a form of federalism as a paradise? And the answer is very, very simple. The traditional socio-political organization of Ghana is federal at the very least. Now, when you take Ashanti, for instance, in 1701, when Anoche founded that kingdom, it was founded on the federal principle. It was started with 5 principal states called Mentu Enum. And Anoche said, bringing these 5 principal states together will need a leader at the center. And the person on whose lap the golden stool will fall will become the leader of the new union. And the stool fell on the laps of his friend, Osei Tutu. And he, at that point, the Kumasi was one of the 5 principal states. He, the Kumasi, was then elevated or actually doubled also as Asantehene, the king for the whole kingdom. Now, the arrangement was that each of the 5 principal states will be independent of each other. Asantehene will not install any of these paramount chiefs. They will be installed by their own people. Asantehene will not go and tell them what to do in their jurisdiction. They will govern their jurisdiction by themselves. But whenever they meet as Ashantis, then Asantehene is their primus inter pares among the chiefs, or he becomes the king. So Ashanti was federal. Even 200 years before Ashanti was the Gan Kingdom in Ayawaso, that was also built on the federal principle. We call it Jaku or Commonwealth or the federal states. Now, even today, when it comes to Accra, the Gamanche is the primus inter pares of the other paramount chiefs. The Gamanche cannot go, or it doesn't install Osu Manche, La Manche, Teshi Manche, Nungwa Manche, Tema Manche. No. And it doesn't go into their jurisdiction to tell them what to do. They are installed by their own people. But when they sit down together as the Commonwealth of Ghana, he becomes the one leader. They operate independent of each other. Even in Gamashi, where the Gamache comes from, he doesn't install Bese Manche or Asre Manche or Tublo Manche or any of the Manche Gamashi. They actually are installed by their own, and Gamache cannot go and tell them what to do in their jurisdiction. We all know about the Fanti Confederacy, which the Fantis tried to establish in 1868. They did establish it, but it collapsed a few years after. And then they moved from Confederacy to full independent state, so that there's even no united Fanti entity anymore. They are independent Fanti states, which also is what we have among the others. There's no central figure among the others like we have the province in the parish of Asantini or the Gamanche. They are individual states. So what I'm saying is that traditionally, Ghana is federal, confederate, or actually independent states. There is not a single traditional entity in Ghana that is structured along the unitary model. Let alone to talk about one-party states. By the very nature of our families coming together to form clans, and clans coming together to form an ethnic group, means that we cannot be one-party states. We're a pluralistic society across board. And we say that in an electromagnetic field, everybody moves in the path of least resistance. The least resistant path is a path already beaten. And for us, as Ghanaians, the path already beaten is a federal structure. The unitary state and the one-party state in Kuma brought are foreign imposition. And there's no, that tells you why after 65 plus years, we are still struggling, because you cannot build a political system on non-existing socio-political foundations. There is no socio-political foundations for a unity state in Ghana, nor a one-party state. We are pluralistic. Now, a modern scholar, a diligent scholar's job is to sit down and look at our natural system and see how it's going to reorganize it to fit the modern world. And that's what I try to do in Afrimocracy. That's why I chose the federal option. That is us. So now, why economic federalism? Because we've had a brush with this federal system some time ago in the 50s, when Ashantis formed the National Liberation Movement led by Bafo Akoto, who was championing federalism for whatever reason, okay? But he was looking at it from the ethnic point of view. We are saying economic federalism. And it's because we put the human being at the center of the economic activity, either production or market. For a state to be sustainable or to be economically sustainable, it must have enough population to produce, and it must have enough population to consume that which is produced. So population is very important. You're not going to create a state that doesn't have enough population to even embark on meaningful production process. And then after the things are produced, you don't have enough market to consume the things. The human being, population is key to the economic process, full stop. And that is why we decided that we're going to use the key factor of production, that is labor, which means population, to decide which part of the community becomes a state, which part of the community becomes a district, Everybody the community becomes a constituency. It's very important. We must arm each state with enough people to take on proper economic activities. Let me tell you something. When Anoche was founding Ashanti, he decided that for a state to be a principal state, a founding member, that state must be able to give 10,000 men for war. And that state must be able to give a certain amount of gold bars for the war chest. So you just don't get out and create states. There must be reason. The state must be able to defend itself, and the state must be able to must be economically viable. You don't come up like Akufo-Addo. The north of Ghana, okay, is about 18%. You don't create 5 regions for 18% of the population. When the remaining 82%, what did you do there? Another 11. You just can't do that. Because they will not have the human muscle to compete with the larger regions like Greater Accra and Ashanti, all things being equal. And it's so important because these regions were actually the weak regions before and the poorest region before. So when you divide poor regions, you proliferate poverty. You take the very thing that's going to unite them to increase productivity, to increase their market share, which is population. You split it. You proliferate poverty when you divide poor regions. So, the reason why we've chosen Ecofed instead of ethnic federalism is population. So, we're not going to divide Ghana along tribal lines. We're going to divide Ghana along population lines. Next slide. The structure. All right. So we'll go through this very quickly. 8 to 10% of the population will form a state. That's where the political power will reside. Now, the state will have 5 districts. So it means 1.6 to 2% of the population will form the district. And that's the service center. And each district will have 5 constituencies. So 0.3 to 0.4% of the population will form a constituency. And that is the electoral center. All right. So this is the basic structure. We are talking of Ecofed, economic federalism. We have to understand that in a unitary state, there is only one source of power, only one sovereign power. Okay? And that sovereign power can decide, like Father Christmas, to spread powers here and there to give to some people to act in his name. All right. And then in the federal system, we have 2 sovereignty, overlapping sovereignty. In fact, we call it 2, or I call it 2 spheres of influence, not 2 levels of government, 2 spheres of influence. One level or one sphere is at the national level and looks at bigger things like defense, foreign affairs, monetary policy, fiscal policy, and this and that and that. And then at the other sphere, we call it the state sphere, and that looks at service provision, schools, hospitals, water, electricity, those kind of things which matter to the population, the citizens. The state takes care of that because every state is different in its needs and its potential. So you want to give that to the state to manage instead of managing everything from one source. All right, so we know the structure. State, district, constituencies. 25 constituencies, 5 districts in 1 state. Next slide, please. Governance. All right, so each state is going to have a parliament, a cabinet of a premier, parliament of 32 MPs, cabinet of a premier, and 6 commissioners. And then also have the state traditional authority and umbrella system. Now, the parliament is going to be made up of 32 MPs. 80% of these MPs, 25, will come from 25 constituencies in the state. and people will vote for them based on universal adult suffrage. And 20% will come from the state traditional authorities. Now, as we are speaking now, our constitution says that the president, one man, appoints 30%, 30% of members of the district assemblies. Now, he is appointing people in district he has never seen before. He has never lived before. He doesn't know anything there. And we all know that it doesn't matter which president, he appoints boys and girls from his party. Okay. 30%. What it means is that every president needs only 20% of elected members of these assemblies to have control over all these assemblies in the country. If this is not a joke, I don't know what is. We are saying no. 80% of MPs will be elected directly by the people, and 20%, which is 7, will be elected through the state traditional authority. Because why? Because under this constitution, it is said that the president must appoint those 30% in consultation with traditional authorities, but the president doesn't do that. He just appoints. And the reason is that they know that traditional authorities have a stake in governance of their jurisdictions. We are taking the president out of the equation. The traditional authorities will put up adverts and set out selection criteria of citizens who want to go to parliament through them, who want to go and represent them in parliament. It's not the chiefs who are going to parliament, it's citizens who are very, the selection criteria is going to be very tough, who are very good, but who probably do not want the ruthlessness of partisan politics. So they want to stay out. We still want to increase capacity in the parliament by bringing them through this route. Instead of 30% to be appointed by the president, the state traditional authority is going to elect 20% from among the people based on selection criteria they set up. We want to improve governance. And it's not anybody and everybody who will qualify to go to the STA for election. It's going to be tough criteria. Not party, apparatus, or whatever. It's going to be tough criteria. Now, so the STA. So this is the governance system. We have the parliament, 32 MPs, 25 elected directly, 7 from the state traditional authorities. And then we have the cabinet of a premier and 6 commissioners for the core services of health, education, law and order, power and water, agri, fisheries and industries, and then finally, housing, infrastructure, and transport. These are the key services that people are interested in, and that will be provided by state government. Then we have the STA and the umbrella system. The umbrella system is actually the kind of thing that Sir Frederick Byrne, when Nkrumah invited in 1955 to come and help us to write our independent constitution, suggested that there should be regional assemblies, and the head of the regional assemblies should be the president of the regional House of Chiefs. Because when he studied Ghana, he realized that this is a multi-ethnic society based on the original sovereignty was with the chiefs. So he sort of looked at it and said, look, let's blend the two. But that's a long story. I'll talk about it later on. Here, but then you see in Frederick Byrne's recommendation, the president of the regional House of Chiefs was going to be the executive head of the regional assembly. Under economic federalism, no, it's just going to be a ceremonial head. All executive power will be with the elected premier. But this one is going to be the father of the state. And he is going to be the president of the state traditional authority. So for instance, under the structure that I have drawn out for the Ecofed, a region like Ashanti region with almost 18% of the population will have 2 states. Now, the umbrella or the father of these two states will be Asantehene, because he is the president of the regional house of Chief Ashanti or something like that. He is going to be the Amralo or the father of those two states. Now, when Accra, Greater Accra also will have two states. Accra City State, just like we have Kumasi City State. Now, the Accra City State will have its own state transition authority in the Gamanche, who is the president, who will then become the Amralo of the Accra City State. Okay, so that's what the governance structure is like. All right, next slide. What have I done here? All right, next slide again. The next one, it looks like I've repeated myself. So that's what will happen at the state level, premier and 6 commissioners for the 6 core services. Now, what happens at the district level? And this is the beauty of all. You see, as you realize, there's going to be 32 MPs. We take out the premier and the speaker, we have 30 MPs. Now, these 30 MPs, 25 come directly from the constituencies. Okay, each district has got 5 constituencies, so each district has got directly elected 5 members of parliament, and then we have 7 from the state transition authority. So basically, when you spread across, each district is going to have 6 MPs. 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, we have 32 MPs, but we take the premier and the speaker out of the district system. So we have 30 MPs divided by 5 districts. Each district has got 6 MPs. And this is the beauty of the whole thing. This defines my politics. I see politics as how a community organizes itself for its defense, its development, and its prosperity. Others, like the Siamese twins and other people floating around in Ghana, they see politics as a struggle for political power so that they would then make their personal fortune from the power of the state. That's not the way I see political or politics. I see it as how a society organizes itself for its own defense and security, its development, and its prosperity. And that's what I've brought to bear on the district as a center of service for the state. There are 6 core services, right, that the state is supposed to provide to its citizens. And each district has got 6 MPs. So what will happen is this. Each MP will be a spokesperson for one of the services. Now, in this model, what it means is that all MPs are part of the executive, either at the state level as cabinet or at the district level as a district executive committee, because the 6 of them will be spokesperson for health and sanitation, education, youth employment and sports, law and order, power and water, all the 6 services that are actually designed at the state level. The services will produce or will be delivered at the district level. And each MP, it doesn't matter which political party, because that's how the society must be able to organize itself for its defense, for its development, and for its prosperity. We are creating government of local unity. So, Party A wins 3 seats in the district. Party B wins 2 seats in the district. And 1 person from the traditional state authority making 6. These 6 people, they will form a district executive committee. There's no opposition. we have to organize ourselves. We have to harness all our energies into providing services for our people. Now, if there are 6 commissioners at the state level, and each of them belongs to a district, then it means that among these six MPs in the district, one of them is a commissioner, is a member of the state cabinet. That one member becomes the mayor of the district. So now, from one point, we have a parliament of 32 members, a cabinet of premier and 6 commissioners, and at this level, we have 6 MPs in each district from the district cabinet, district executive committee, and one member of that committee who is a commissioner at this level becomes the mayor of the district. And with this structure, we abolish over 10,000 politicians roaming around as assemblymen. Now, at the district level, so we have at this level, then we're going to decide how do we deliver the service. Now we've got 6 spokespersons for the 6 core services. So for instance, we have district health committee. District health committee, because all the services will be organized and delivered at the district level. Now, who will be the members of the district health service committee? The spokesperson on health, the district medical superintendent, the district director of nursing, the district pharmacy, chief pharmacist. Then we also have selected important members in the community. We may have the youth represented there. Basically, from the community, we organize ourselves how best to deliver health service to our people. Sorry, and that's the same thing will go for health district service committee, education district committee, law and order, supporting for law and order, district chief police. We have all these people there. They will form the district law and order committee. You have the youth there, you have the Asafo companies, Asafo chairman companies there, you have all these things. You see, because some people don't understand how Ghana works. Where I was brought up, my uncle was the Asafo chair for our community. My father's first cousin. When he was when Asafo chair in 1975, I was just 8 years going to 9. I had to go to Asafo at that age. I was his altar boy. When something got lost in the community, they didn't go to the police. They will come to him first and report. When a child got lost, they will come to him first and report, and he will play the gong and announce that this child had not been seen. And you call that Asafo, which basically is like the reserve, like we have in the Western world, the reserve army. You will call them and they'll be going around looking for the boy. Anything that happens in the community, they will come to him first. They don't go to police. Who is the police? They are corrupt. And the same thing. I mean, he was holding court in our house. People will bring their matters, marriage matters, these matters, and he will settle. I mean, we're not monkeys living on trees and in caves when the white man came. We're governing ourselves and governing ourselves very well. And I'm talking of something that happened 75, 76 recently when I was growing up. Now, a diligent scholar, a diligent patriot, business is to see how it's going to harness this traditional energy into our modern system for law and order, for provision of other services. We lost everything. How can somebody tell me that a government-appointed district executive cares more about the people than the substantive chief of the place? They say, oh, the kids are corrupt. Rubbish. Rubbish. Your country is owing 500 billion cedis. Tell me whether a chief has contracted 1 cedi of that 500 billion. Who is corrupt? The politicians or the chiefs they have tried very hard to destroy? Your judges are said to be collecting bribes and fowls and goats and stuff like that. We all know what happens to the police. Even doctors are corrupt. And then of all this nonsense, the only people you see to be corrupt are your chiefs. Oh, just a minute. Hello, Debbie.
Hi there, everybody. Dr. Nee will be with us again very shortly. Whilst he's on the phone, please start getting your questions in so he can answer them as soon as he's finished his presentation. Okay? Hopefully this will be a short one. Good morning to you, Eric. I hope you're still online. Good morning, Sophia. Thank you, as always, for joining us each week. Okay, he's back.
Sorry, guys. I'm on call, so these things do happen. Yeah. Anyway, so where was I? So now all we are trying to do is how to organize ourselves cost effectively to deliver services to our people without the beast of oppositional politics and adversarial politics. We want cooperative politics. We want collaborative politics. We want politics in consensus. Because that's what we need. The West is disintegrating now because of oppositional politics and because of adversarial politics. We don't have that luxury. And this is the way we bring our MPs that we elect into state parliament to come and work at the district level. And they all get executive experience. Those who are ambitious to become national leaders from here can rise to the ranks. So it becomes a training ground for them as well. We've got to think. The worst thing an African can do is not to think. Because we are far below. What the West can take as luxury and run around and fool around, we cannot. Like what Adoni said, he said, it is the responsibility of every African to understand the system in order to overthrow it. If you don't understand the system, how it works, and how to go around it and overthrow it, we'll sink further in the bottomless pit. We will sink further into the bottomless pit. We're already there. We need to come up. And this is why I'm telling you that economic federalism based on population, and federalism based on production, and a good market for consumption, and a system that brings different parties together at the district level to offer service to the people is the way forward. That is what will create the African paradise and nothing else. Anybody who tells you anything, tell the person I'm saying he's a liar. He doesn't even understand what he's talking about. Because we've been here from 1957, we've been here from 1960, and we are going further down because we are trying to build political systems on non-existing socio-political foundations. It will not work as it hasn't worked. Next slide, please. Funding. All right. Yeah, people in Ghana, I said, I had a chat to one of my young guys from the North, and he was worried that the North will be behind. Of course, the North is already behind. All right. We just be honest and talk what we have to talk about. For 65 years, the North is getting behind. The North cannot decide that it's going to be a dependent territory forever. Now, there are social consequences when you are saying to be dependent. It brings a lot of other things. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to leave any segment of the community behind. And the only way to bring everybody on board is to create the conditions for people to be able to take charge of their affairs with reasonable funding from government. What you have done so far hasn't worked, and it will never work. If something will work after 65 years, 2 generations, you must see signs of it. But it's actually getting worse. It's only a moron who do the same thing and expect different results. Economic federalism is the way to go. So how do we fund it? The biggest pot of cash is going to be the VAT. Now, and the VAT is going to be divided per capita. So if your state is 10% of Ghana's population, you have 10% of the VAT. If your state is 8%, you have 8% of the VAT. It's as simple as that. At the moment, everything is in Accra, and presidents do politics with it. Where they seem to get more votes, they do this, they do that, they do politics, the money of the people. You've got to take that out of the hands of politicians. Okay? At the end of the year, beginning of the following year, budget is read, and the money is shared according to the population. So I told my northern friend that, no, I don't believe the North even generates 1% of the VAT we collect. But in a nation that is trying to move forward together, we'll still do exactly the North. The total North population of 18 or whatever will have 18% of the VAT. They've never received that amount of cash before. Never. And then the second one is income tax retention. I said the North and Volta, the 4 poorest regions, should retain 50% of income taxes they collect. Accra and Kumasi will retain only 25%, and the middle states will retain 37.5%. I mean, we can always shift this. I mean, we can even give the North and Volta 100%, depending on the amount involved, or 80% or whatever. But the principle is that they're going to keep a fair bit of the income tax they collect so that they have money to run their state. It has never happened before. So this is a way of actually bringing them up to speed. Now, of course, they got to generate local taxes. People got to work there. And then there's a big package that I'm not going to say here because there are plagiarists all over. But there's going to be a big package which is coming in my book. Make the North and Volta great again. It's a book I'm going to launch ahead of 2024. How exactly I see poverty eradication in the North and Volta. Of course, it will be applicable to other parts of Ghana, but it will be mainly centered on the North and Volta. Make the North and Volta great again. And I know I'm going to compete with Northerners who have been in politics forever, and they will tell me what they've done for their people, apart from using the misery of their people for their political gain. They will tell me what they have done for their people, apart from John Mama saying that, oh, vote for me because I'm one of you. That's all. Getting poorer and poorer. The girls are still screaming to Accra, Skayaye. And these people go to bed and they're able to sleep. When it's election time, they go there and demonize others to their people so that they vote for them. are socially wicked people. But 2024 is going to come, and the North will have a real chance for their emancipation, for their delivery from crashing poverty. They can try to go to the status quo and vote for those who say, "I'm one to vote for me." It is their problem, not mine. But I'll give them the chance. Then, of course, we have the Bridging the Gap funds. Now, the Bridging the Gap funds is going to be, oh my God, I've gone more than 30 minutes. Bring the Gap funds is going to be organized at the level of Council of State, which is going to be very different from what you have now. In the new Council of State that I've advocated for, each state will have 2 representatives there, the Premier of the state and the Speaker of Parliament of the state. And then we have national government there. It's modeled along the Santiman Shiamu, the Santiman Council. Then we all talk about the nation. Each state to bring its developmental approach. For instance, if Accra is 3 million people, right? And it's got 3,000 tertiary beds in hospitals, and northern region, whatever, it's also 3 million people, then it's fair to say it must also have 3,000 tertiary beds. So if northern region has 1,000 tertiary beds, or 1,005 tertiary beds, or 2,000 tertiary beds, it means there's a gap to be bridged. And this funding will be done separately from the VAT and whatever. This funding will come from national government through Council of State and will be given to each state according to its needs. And say, look, we can bridge this gap in 10 years. Okay, so every year we'll try and build 200 more tertiary beds or whatever is possible within our means. We're not going to borrow to do that. We are sick and tired of the thugs and the Talibanized crooks who have been borrowing money in your name as Ghanaians and spend the money the way they want. We are going to have a clear-cut policy of national development organized and planned at the Council of State. So it doesn't matter who is in power as president, it will be followed. Now, this is what will bring the deliverance. If there are 2 million children in Accra, and there are 2 million classroom chairs in Accra, and then there are 2 million children in Brongahafu, but they have only 1.5 million chairs, it means the need for bridging the gap is real, another 500,000 chairs. How that could be bridged in a time period will have to depend on what we can afford. And that is why it is important that we are productive. Because the more productive we are, the bigger our GDP, the more money we can have to bridge the gap. We are not going to borrow to do these things because we cannot pay. So now you have an idea. I can talk about 13, 14, 15 advantages of Ecofed over what we have now. From training people in the executive power, from the district executive committee or state executive committee, wanting to become national leaders or whatever, all these things, the distribution of opportunities in the country. We want every state capital to be as viable as Accra. And this is the only way we can do it. This is the multi-city development as against the unity development of the unity state championed by Kwame Nkrumah. Accra cannot be Ghana. It's insane. Accra cannot be Ghana. Last year, July, oh no, is it last year, July? This year, July, the GRA brought out domestic revenue collection. 92% of domestic revenues were collected from the regions. Okay, out of these 92%, 95.7% came from Greater Accra alone. The rest of the country put together was just 4.3%. In all Mighty Ashanti, I think just 1.2. It's a disgrace. This is a collapsed state. It's a collapsed state. It's unsustainable. You got to think. Okay? I know there are some people who are in ideological holes, in ideological prisons. They cannot come out because once they hear the word, the F word, then they think it's Ashanti nationalism. Rubbish. What's Freddy about Ashanti nationalism? You are talking about economic federalism. Partition the country along economic potentials and sustainability and enough manpower for production. And then we had a system of service delivery organized from state power to district level, where MPs from a district become the district executive committee, and one of them becomes the mayor, and then they deliver the services to the district service committees, health, education, whatever, that are formed as part of the system. Brothers and sisters, we are going somewhere. Chako Manyaba.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Nee. I did ask earlier, do people start sending their questions, but no questions have come in as yet. Do you want to go to your other set of questions, Dr. Nee?
Yeah, do you have the questions there? Because
yeah.
Okay.
Shall I put them up?
Yeah. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm sure I know that Abu Sakara. In 2008, he was the running mate for, I think, Dr. Indum for CPP. And in 2012, he was the candidate itself for CPP. At the moment, he's trying, I think it's a convener of another thing, what the National Interest Move or something. Anyway, I've been talking to him he contacted me maybe a week and a half ago or something like that. We've been talking, and obviously, we're talking about my ideas and how I see Ghana and the fact that we need a new republic. Okay, non-negotiable. He is in the unity state mode because he's an Nkrumah also, I believe. All right, but they are wrong. He cannot do the same thing and expect different results. That's called lunacy. All right, they are wrong. He asked me this question: is there no scenario under which devolution within the unity state can give the outcomes you imagine on the economic federalism? None at all. It is a redundant question. Okay. You cannot go for lead when gold is freely available. Why do you want to tweak a unity state for it to become functional federalism? Why do you want to do that? If that was possible, why hasn't it happened? Where in the world have you seen that happening? You see, UK has got a problem. Its main kids, US, Canada, and Australia, are all federal. Now they've seen the light. They realize that the only way they can keep Scotland within the kingdom is to federate. But because of UK ego, they don't want to call the word, they don't want to use the word federation. They are calling maximum devolution. And that's what Abu Zagara is saying. Oh, is there no way? There is no way. Okay? There is no way. If you want federalism, you want federalism. If you want economic federalism, you want economic federalism. If you want a unity state, you want a unity state. And I once told him that he must understand that there is no civilized nation in this world that is not federal or on its way to federal. Not one. And there must be a reason for that. And the reason is human behavior. So I'm not going to waste my time debating how a failed system can be refurbished when the gold standard itself is there. Either we go economic federalism or we stay where we are. I'm not even going to waste my time trying to say it can be done this way, it can be done that way, because they are two different concepts. These are not labels. They are two different concepts. One sees itself as one source of sovereign power, with the unity state. It's got nothing to do with a United States, okay? It's got nothing to do with national cohesion. It means all power in one person, all power in one party, and all power in one place. At independence, that person was Nkrumah, the party was CPP, and the place was Accra. Today, that person is Nana Akufo-Addo, the party is MPP, and the place is Accra. We cannot have any more of that. That's what unity stands for. It's got nothing to do with a United States. A federal state, on the other hand, talks of two spheres of influence. I mean, one, we have a Prime Minister of Australia who is elected by the Australian people, and we have a Premier for State of Victoria who is also elected by the people. And when it comes to Accra, we have the same scenario there. We have a government chair, we have Osuman chair, government chair appointed by his people. We have Osuman chair appointed by Osu people. We have La Manche appointed by La people. Government chair doesn't appoint the Osuman chair. So I don't see how the president should appoint regional ministers. Even the Osuman chair doesn't appoint the divisional chiefs in Osu. So I don't see how a president should appoint district chief executives. Why should he do that? Even in districts that he lost the elections, even in regions that he lost the elections, it doesn't matter the people, but somehow a very moronic constitution says he can do that. We don't want that. Power belongs to the people. Let them elect their national leaders, let them elect their state leaders, let the two work together to advance the people and what they need. So I'm not interested in any scenario. The federal system is not the same as the union system. You cannot say in Ghana, we say, you can't say you hate the physics, you hate the pool, but you love his maggots. If you don't want federalism, then don't tweak the content of unitary to appear federal. If you don't want federalism, don't talk about outcomes, unitary outcomes that may mimic federal outcomes. Okay? I am going for federalism, economic federalism, and that's going to be the battle for 2024. Are there mechanisms for empowerment of local communities exclusive to the federalist approach? I'm not talking about what's exclusive. I'm telling you what I'm going to do and how it's going to happen. I've explained how it's going to happen on the economic federalism, because to do these things properly, you need executive power, and you are not going to be the representative of national executive power in your district as we have it now. The DCE represents the president in the district. The regional minister represents the president in the region, and that's when I think moves. Because the regional minister and the DCE are not responsible to the people. They are responsible to the president. And that is why things have not worked, and things will never work. Empowering people must come from local authority, local power. And we have created it under Ecofed. We have the state parliament, state executive committee, which is the cabinet. And then we have this executive committee made up of MPs from the district. And those will be the point of empowerment. And we have the district service committees for health, for education, blah, 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 blah. They will be the people in the system to empower people. So I'm not going to waste my time about how we're going to tweak a failed system to achieve the results of a vibrant, well thought out system. It doesn't work like that. What are the key elements of your Shebo system that make it uniquely federalist in nature? I've never said that. The Shebo system is about parliamentary representation. It can be applied in any system. So the two have got nothing to do with each other. The Shebo is not about executive authority, which Ecofed is about. Executive authority at the level of the state. The shebo is about parliamentary representation. I'm saying the first past the polls is fraudulent because it's not about majority vote, it's about the highest vote. So it's possible an MP can get 40% and yet represent the constituency. That's a minority representation. You cannot have that in a majoritarian system. It's a fraud. In our last elections, the largest constituency was Domiko Abenya with 173,000 people. And the smallest constituency was, I think, Setre in Afram Plains or North Akachi with about 18,500 people. So one constituency has got 18,500 people, another one has got 173,000. How can normal people accept this? That 173,000 people has got 173,000 people have got one MP, and 18,000 people have also got one MP. Where is the fairness? But that will be done away with shebo. Shebo, 10% population will have 10% seats. 5% population will have 5% seats. It's as simple as that. It's got nothing to do with federalism. It can be done under any system. Israel has proportional representation. The percentage of the votes that a party gets decides the number of seats it has in parliament. But Israel is not a federal state. So Shebo has got nothing to do with the structure of the state. It's about parliamentary representation. And this is a problem. People don't even understand the principles we are talking about. They just don't understand. And I've been talking about this since 2000. But they don't understand. Anyway, so if the Tabu Sakara is watching, I've answered him. I'm not going to waste my time talking about scenarios under a failed system, how it can be tweaked to achieve the same outcomes of a well thought out, of a system based on our traditions and our socio-political organization, and try and make a failed foreign position work like that. It's not going to work. It hasn't worked for 65 years. It's getting worse. It must go. We need a new state. We need a new constitution under economic federalism. Chao Manyaba.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nee. Very quickly, got one question come in so far. This is a new person, AD. I've never met this person before, but you're welcome. How are we going to transition from the current system to economic federalism?
Well, thank you very much, AD. And this is what's going to happen. I'm going to put everything on the table for 2024, if we get there. I'm going to put everything on the table, the transition, what I'm going to do. What is going to happen is that after the elections, if we win by the grace of God, the parliament, if we win, it means the people have given us a mandate for the change. Because that's what we are going to talk about. Of course, there are going to be other issues, but this is the main focus. We need a new system. We need a new state. Now, if that happens, then Parliament becomes like a constituent assembly where the details of what I'm telling you now will be tabled. And it will be debated. They may add this, they may add that, they may take away this, but the fundamental principle of a new political system based on population rather than ethnicity, as a united people, we must move away from ethnicity. The Gonja doesn't want to stay in the same region with the Dragomba. But when they come to Accra, they all live together in Accra. So why can't they stay together in the north? Why must the government make it its decision that we have to split people who have lived for more than 500 years together just for political gain? And who is going to pay for that bureaucracy? So the transition is going to happen when people accept the concept and they vote for it. Then it's going to go through Parliament. Once the draft, everything has been finalized, we put it to the people in a referendum to accept the Federal Republic of Sikaman Constitution, authored by Niamudaho. They got to accept it or not. It's as simple as that. And then we'll move from there, and you will see the benefits. Because we are in Ghana now, and they are talking about Zoom Lion, a president deciding who collects rubbish in Accra. Or what kind of madness is this? In Australia, councils do three things: rates, rubbish, and roads. The Prime Minister doesn't do that. I'm sure the same in the UK. Rates, roads, rubbish, 3 RRR. That's what, but in Ghana, the president is the one deciding who collects rubbish in Accra, who collects rubbish here, who builds the public toilet in Kumasi, or who does this there. What kind of madness is this? And the whole president will say that, oh, I did well because I built a market in Kumasi. Pardon me. In the old, when Ashanti was Ashanti, Ashanti has a contemplate their own trading route that they constructed 300 years ago. Today, they cannot do the same. They have to rely on the remote president in Accra to do it for them. That is retrogression. 300 years ago, they're making their own road. They call it a contemplate. I hope I'm speaking the truth very well. Their trade routes all over to the south and to the north. They knew how to do that. Now they cannot do that anymore. They have to depend on the remote president in Accra to do it for them. No wonder their share of domestic revenue is 1.2%, and that of Accra is 95.7%. We are destroying the country through this madness called unity state or whatever one-party state. Because a unity state, a one-party government, winner takes all government, in the unity state is a de facto one-party state. All we do is to hold multi-party elections. After that, the state is run like a one-party state. They can say, you can have your say, but we'll have our way because we have the majority. That's what you are doing. Madness. That's what you are doing. But Ghanaians will have the chance to choose whether they want these and they want something. I can see people floating around town here, oh, changing new constitution instead of economic affairs, whatever, with Michael Kwe as whatever. Michael Kwe was appointed Speaker of Parliament by a president. When the word has seen them before to be the head of the elected house when you're not an elected member. Where? Why didn't you correct it? But he said, no, I cannot do that. It doesn't happen in a democracy. If I want to speak of Parliament, I have to be elected from my constituency first. And he's, leading passion on you, change the constitution. They're all doing catch up, but the people know the difference. And when I learn and we start talking, they will know I'm going to push them to the wall. And none of them can stand in front of me. I can tell you that.
Got 2 more comments. One from Pastor John. Morning, Pastor John. You said madness indeed. And then AD said, this is brilliant. How to get Ghanaians to buy into this concept?
I'll be landing in Ghana next month and we'll start the road work. They will get it because they are not stupid. When Nkrumah stood in Accra Central, we all knew he was from Zimba. And he stood with prominent guns in Accra Central. And he won massively because we are not stupid. He came with a message for the moment. And people picked his message ahead and above of those of his opponents. And he won. In the first general elections in Ghana in 1951, out of 38 contested seats, he got 34. When he was in jail and the battle was led by his deputy, Bidema. So people are not stupid. Trust me, people are not stupid. People know that they don't eat tribe. There's no food called tribe. There's no food called party. They are suffering now. So I'm going to tell them how to take them from that hole. Well, it's still their choice. It's their democratic choice to decide to remain poor and suffer. It's their choice. And we are not begging anybody. And I'm not giving anybody any money. Because as you can see, I'm here in my scraps, I'm working. And I'm not doing this work to come and bribe Ghanaians to vote against people who are stealing their money. It's not going to happen. Because whatever money John Mama has, it's not from him. It's from the state of Ghana. He hasn't worked outside Ghana politics since 1996. Okay. Ghanaians must know. This madness must stop. Otherwise, they will sink further. It is their call, not mine.
Yes. Final comment from ADs is wonderful. We need grassroots education.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We need grassroots education. And that's what's going to happen. Now we have our man for reorganization of the ARM. And what he's going to do mainly is to reactivate the Ecofed platform groups for the regions that are created in 2015. And then the regions will organize the district Ecofed groups. That's how we moved so quickly in 2015, 2016, but we couldn't contest for one reason or the other. We're going to reactivate. And now the time is even more appropriate. You have to understand. Time matters in these things. The time is more appropriate. I have been speaking about these things. Those who were with me in medical school knew that 1992, when they put this foolish constitution, whatever up, I said, no, it's going to create a democratic dictatorship. And here we are. I was a small boy. I've not traveled outside Ghana. But common sense told me that this will not work. 2000, when I came to Australia and I saw the HTM, I started writing on Adesoye's Gadangwe Forum. In 1992, I had no structure like Ecofed or democracy or any of those things. But when I came here, when I went to South Africa 5 years, and I came here in 2000, and I said, now you got to do something different. That's when I started, this system evolved. And I was writing on it consistently. Those who were with me, Mamik and Red on Adesoye's Gadangwe Forum, you knew about that. And when I came to Facebook, the first article I wrote was The Trouble with Ghana. And I went through it, what I see, how the parliament will be organized, the council of state, all those, I put them down once. I created a state in one day. And that's the truth. It's there. And brothers and sisters, it's up to you whether you want it or not. Okay? Nobody's going to beg anybody. I don't need to be president of Ghana. But you need to be freed. So it's your problem, not mine. I can tell you that.
Okay, Dr. Nee, thank you. There's no more questions or comments. We've gone over an hour. Do you think we should call it a day, or is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Right, so, I got distracted because somebody sent me a message. What was your last statement?
I said that we've just gone over an hour.
Okay,
yeah. Is there any final words before we wrap up?
Oh, the final word is that change is coming. And we shall establish the African paradise in Ghana. Yes. And from Ghana, it will spread to the rest of the continent. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, everybody who tuned in to join us for this presentation. Thank you to all of those of you who submitted questions and comments. Much appreciated. As always, please let people know what is going on. Let your friends know, those who are at home and in the diaspora, about what Dr. Nee is talking about, what he's doing. Direct them to his social media platforms, direct them to his website so they can read and understand where he is coming from, okay? We're going to be back here same time in 2 weeks' time. We now are
2 weeks time, yeah.
Night, okay? So set your watches 11 a.m. 2 weeks from now, and we'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Thanks, everybody. I love you all.